When I was 2 years old, when I was dedicated to the cause of Lucifer, I was at that point a seventh generation witch.
I was laying there, practically naked, and I had her hold me as if I was a baby. I couldn't talk. I couldn't open my eyes. I believe my eyes were rolled up back in my head.
There was evidence of human sacrifice on this site. One of my first questions I asked the guy, is there evidence of human sacrifice? Yes. We found a man with his fingers like who was a Richard sacrifice.
And it started to come down the stairs and there was disgusting smell. And at that point, just basically said, do you know what they did to us? And that's when I fled that home.
But no, they would touch me. They would take pictures of my head if they wanted to communicate with me. Human sacrifice. Human sacrifice. Human sacrifice. Human sacrifice. Implants are real, okay? You know, we've got them on X-ray, we've got them on CAT scan, we've got them on the Gauss meter, which measures magnetic field 7.5. We've got them on an ultrasound machine. It's right there. It's hard, physical evidence, not delusionary.
All right. Welcome back to Conspirinormal, guys. And we are Lukeless tonight, but we do have in the studio, as always, the guy I like to call the podcast Jesus or the podcast savior, Mr. Robbie Lenz.
Hello, everybody.
And as everyone I'm sure knows by this point, unless you've been living under a rock for the last week and a couple of days, there were some terrorist attacks in Paris at a theater. Well, that was the main terrorist attack, and at a stadium there, and at, I believe, at a Cambodian restaurant. And I have someone on the line that we've talked about on this show a couple of times that we've mentioned. And we do have L.A. Marzulli coming up later. But I thought it would be a good idea to get someone that lives in Europe. And I've been talking to this person on Facebook Messenger for a while now. His name is Stephen Ogden. And Stephen lives in Germany. And we're going to kind of get his idea of what's going on over there and kind of like eyes on the ground. He's going to be like our European correspondent. So, Stephen, welcome to Conspirinormal.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Now, as like I said before, as everybody knows, there was the terrorist attack in Paris. ISIS has taken responsibility for it. I want to kind of, first of all, geographically, where are you located in Germany so people kind of have an idea of where you are and how close you are to things on the ground there?
Right, well, I'm about an hour below Hamburg, I would say.
Okay.
Or an hour and a half, let's say, driving. Right in the middle of Germany, actually. Right,
Okay.
if you put a dot right in the middle of Germany, right there.
Okay. And it's somewhere close to like the Rhineland, I believe, in that area?
Yeah, it's a bit further away. I'm in the actual, it's called the Weserbergland, which is basically, right in the middle of Germany, yeah.
Right. So the western part of Germany. How
Yeah.
far is, like, if you had to guess, is Paris from where you live?
About, I would say 300 Ks, that in miles, I've got no clue.
If you had to drive there, how many hours would it take you?
3.5 to 4 hours, depending on traffic, you know.
Okay. So it's about the same distance from us. Like, we live in Nashville, so it would be the same distance from us to go to, like, Atlanta for us. So that's pretty close. So it'd be about like 200 something miles, 220 miles, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to kind of, before we start talking about the attacks themselves, I want to talk about what's going on in the area that you live in and kind of the effect that you might be seeing in this kind of like small, in this area of Germany that you live, and what's going on over there as far as potential terrorism or the refugee crisis or any of the stuff that's going on in Europe.
Yeah. Sure. Well, as for Germany, obviously you Americans all know Bavaria. It's in Germany, in the south of Germany. That is where most of the migrants actually at this time, because obviously they're going in through what's called the Balkan route. And that is basically they're going through Turkey, then Slovenia and all those like Eastern Bloc states, going in through Austria and then entering into Bavaria. And I'm in the north, northwest, which is, what's it in English? North Rhine-Westphalia is the German name of it.
Okay.
And we haven't had that many of the migrants in my area, especially because we're like cows and tractors everywhere. I'm not in a big town, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, and what we've had up here, like, the harshest thing I've had up here is I've got a good friend. He was in the British Army, and he was a main guy, let's say, in a hospital about an hour's drive away from here, right? And he told me, like, I won't mention any names like that or anything, but he said, we got these girls from your town in our hospital. And I'm like, wait a second, we've got a hospital here. Why are the girls an hour away? And he was told by the police to not divulge any of this. Actually, a girl and her friend were raped here. And they got brought into the hospital about an hour away and told and to not reveal anything.
Okay.
That is the harshest thing I've heard. And these girls, they're obviously young, like 12 and 13 or whatever, in that age bracket.
Wow.
And I've heard from the school because they went to my school that I was as well in this town. And they basically moved away now.
Okay, so this happened in your town, but they were taken to another city about an hour away. Now, why were they told not to say anything about what happened? Well, it's just like,
I'll just go to Hanover, right? About a week ago now.
Okay.
And we had the bomb threats on the Germany game there in Hanover, which is about an hour away from me as well. It's north. And I need to find the English word. Basically, the guy in the government in charge of what happens in Germany, like the main guy responsible for all the agencies and stuff like that, he said in a press the conference, he said, well, I've got information about attacks from whatever, but I'm not able to divulge this at this time because it will make people scared.
All right.
And he said that in a live interview, and everyone's like, wait, we're not supposed to be scared? What? And it's things like that. It's like with what you would have heard, like the AfD in Germany and like that. The right is moving up in the polls. I mean, moving up like multiple decimal points up. And they just want to stop the people from basically going on the streets and throwing these guys back to where they came from.
Okay, so this particular case with the girls that got raped. Were these Syrian refugees that did this, or were these people that had already been in Germany for a while?
Well, I live in a town, and we've got about, how many have we got? 9,000 or so, the population, and we got 300 migrants, and they're basically in the middle of town, just hanging out on the town square now. And I was told that it wasn't refugees. Now, I know it's always like, oh, he got this off a mate of his, but honestly, the guy that I've known him my entire life, his mum was the actual midwife at my birth. And that's how long I've known him. So if he said that's true, and he lost his job actually at the hospital for that.
Okay.
Because he wasn't having any of it, so yeah.
That's what is that something else that has gone on? Has that been happening a lot in Germany?
Well, reports, let's say you read about it on Facebook, and it's like the media won't say yes, but everyone knows basically what's going on.
Yeah, and do
it's just like, yeah.
Well, do you feel like the government is kind of covering that up in a way?
Oh, yeah.
they want to kind of like avert mass hysteria, maybe.
Yeah, the thing is with Merkel, you might have heard Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany. She basically said to all the refugees in the world, Germany is open, everyone flee to Germany. That is exactly what she said. And she basically, you say, oh, I'll be there for you, and then a friend, you never call, they don't need you to be there. It's just nice to hear that you will actually be there for them. The thing is, the refugees all said, yay, let's go to Germany. And now we've had over 1 million here this year alone. And we're not even done with this year yet.
Yeah. Germany seems to be the destination for quite a lot of the people, quite a lot of the refugees there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they're trying to make sure everyone's a bit, a bit, they don't overreact. And they're saying everyone's overreacting, but the thing is, we're actually underreacting. And could you imagine in America, 1 million illegals at the border in 1 year? And can you imagine it?
Yeah, I mean, it's more like a kind of like a trickle here. I mean, we have a lot of illegal immigrants in this country, but it's kind of like more. It doesn't happen all at once, obviously.
Yeah, the thing with you. Yeah, sorry.
Well, it's not a very organized thing, as opposed to maybe what's going on now, where there's a mass of people just kind of coming into Europe from Syria. Yeah. Yeah,
the thing is over here, it's organized though. They go to Turkey, right? They get over on the boat or whatever, or they go to Greece or get, out of the ocean, they get rescued or whatever, and then they go into camps, into so-called hotspots. And then they get brought onto buses. And then they get brought onto trains and onto buses. And every state just said, well, we don't want them, off to Germany. And it goes from Slovenia, Austria, it goes all the way through at the Austrian border, and then they say bye, and they're in Germany. That's how it's happening, basically.
So, what I really want to know is the people's reaction to what is happening there with the refugee crisis. Now, do some people believe that there are people amongst the refugees that really do need the help because they've been in this war zone? And then are there some people that just want to reject the refugees outright, or there's some people that want to kind of do a screening process on them? What's kind of the reaction there?
Well, the reaction was basically at the start, from the start. Everyone's like, yeah, we need to help them. And I can understand it. If you're in a war and you've lost everything, you've lost your house, you've lost your job, you've lost maybe a part of your family or whatever, and you really need help, and you're like, you've got you've got the kids there and all that. I know they need help, they need blankets, they need food, they need housing, they need an education. I wouldn't reject anyone like that. The problem that we have over here is that over 80%, and that is just mildly saying it, it's over 80%, of the people that are actually arriving here are all males. And they're all in the age that I'm in. Like, they've just done with school, they're young adults. And the best weapons of war are always the young adults, if we look in history. It's always the young adults that buy it, the young, the youth that are made into that. And the reaction is basically, at the start of the year, we need to help them. In the middle of the year, maybe we need to screen them. And now, if we look at the attacks in France, I've read in the news today that 3 of the attackers were like refugees, and one of the guys was actually rescued out of the ocean by the Navy and brought to Germany.
So you don't think that that passport that was found? They said that they found a passport on one of the shooters at that theater. You don't think that was a fake passport? You think that was a real Syrian passport that was there on the ground? Because I've heard some like here on CNN, they've been talking a lot about. They interviewed a Syrian refugee, I believe, it was either Germany or France. I can't remember, but he said that it was easy to fake one of those passports. So do you think that maybe do they think that was a real actual passport and these guys were really Syrian refugees?
Well, the thing is, it doesn't matter if it was a real one or not, because actually the Greek authorities actually, and they have him on file. He basically got lined up, he got the picture taken, they opened the file on him, he said his name, which was also in the passport, and then that's how we know he was from there. Because the Greeks, they got him out of the ocean, right, and registered him, and then on through the Balkan route up to Germany, and then into France.
Right, so there was a trail there. There was
exactly.
a paper trail or a data trail connecting to that. Okay, see, that's something I haven't. That's something I haven't heard over here. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you have this situation where you have mostly. You were throwing out the what you said, like 80% men was the figure I think that you threw out. With that kind of situation, and you have now you're in your early 20s, I believe you said.
Yeah,
and they're kind of the same age. So this is the idea that this might be someone that is in poverty or has been through this situation. These might be some of the people that are more able to be radicalized. Okay, but do they also think that there are ISIS sleeper agents embedded with these men?
Well, the thing that I think is most of the people that are actually ISIS in Europe are already here and have been here for a long time. Because the thing that's basically caused the situation we have in Europe now, right, is we had an influx of migrants all through the start of the 21st century. All through the last years that we obviously had war in the Middle East, we've had the influx of Afghanis, Iraqis, and Syrians, Turks, and, anyone basically out of the Middle East.
Right.
For some reason or whatever, they said, right, we're going to Europe, it's better there. I can understand that. Yeah. The thing is, the thing that's happened here now is these people have gone to, the best example is Brussels at the moment. They've gone to Brussels as an example, and they've all, and they went there at the start into one region of the city of Brussels, and then the next guy came, and the next, and they opened a shop and they bought a house or whatever, and now all of these people out of the Middle East are in this one space of the city, which is basically for a no-go area. Yeah, it's basically if you're not a Muslim or whatever, you get thrown out.
So this is something that actually is happening over there.
Yeah, it is happening, mate. Honestly, I've been to Hanover. There are some places in Hanover where I wouldn't go.
Okay, so this is going on in Hanover, which is probably kind of like a mid-sized city, basically.
Yeah, basically. I think it's got 1.5 million or so inhabitants.
Okay.
Which for Germany is big.
Right. And there are even areas in Hanover where you wouldn't feel comfortable going. Now, is there an implementation in some of these cities of what we here refer to as Sharia law?
Well, the thing that I experienced is last year I was on the Christmas market in Germany. We have that here in Germany, the Christmas markets, which is basically the run-up to Christmas. There's market there where you can drink hot wine or beer or whatever, It's basically like the Christmas markets. It's just the German thing, basically. I don't know if you have it over there. But when we were walking over that, and I've obviously got a girlfriend here, and these guys, they walked up to us holding the Quran and saying, your girlfriend, she needs to wear a headdress, and it's, she'll go to hell and stuff like that if she doesn't wear a headdress.
Okay.
The only reason I didn't bash his head in is because it was 3 of his mates behind him.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's and you hear about that all the time.
So they actually just kind of physically, verbally harass people on the street there.
Well, the thing is, they're in the grey zone, with laws. It's legal, it's illegal, in the middle you have the grey zone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like that. They just have these stands, and with big the signs, discover Islam for yourself, and all that kind of stuff, handing out the free Qurans and stuff. And you imagine going to Turkey, and that is a very westernized place.
Yeah, Turkey is more secular than most of the most of the
Yeah,
Muslim
exactly.
countries, right?
If you go to Turkey and hand out free Bibles, oh God, you wouldn't return alive. Honestly,
Yeah.
you wouldn't.
Yeah,
You wouldn't. It's just how it is.
right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, the same applies probably for some place like I've heard like in Israel too. You know, there's some that there's it's kind of looked down upon, like handing out Bibles or stuff like that. So
Yeah.
there are definitely those type of countries where, because we live in Western society, and I'm going to say, Germany is probably not much more different than the United States. We live in a secular society, and we live in a society that has freedom of religion and freedom
Exactly.
from religion. But, these people want to practice their religion, but they're also very forceful about obviously very forceful about trying to convert people. And then, you're talking about Hanover, and you're talking about, that in that city. Well, in Paris, in Brussels, there it's probably even worse. You probably have even more of a concentration of these areas. Now,
Yeah.
would you
Yeah.
agree? One of the things that I found interesting about the situation in Europe with Arabs, Muslims, whatever you want to say there, as opposed to the United States, is that the people in Europe are coming more in groups, and they're coming more from like the lower end of an economic spectrum, because a lot of them are refugees, or a lot of them just wanted to escape from the crushing poverty in North Africa and the Middle East. And like you said, who can blame them? Certainly here in the United States, we have Mexicans coming over the border. They don't have an opportunity in Mexico, so they come here to work, and they can make money, and they can send it back there. But as far as the Muslims here in the United States, it's always seemed to be that a lot of those people are more upwardly mobile. They come here to make money. They come here to live, and so there's less of an issue of that kind here in the United States. So would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I would actually agree with that a lot because, how can I say it? It's like with the EU, right? Everyone always flees here first, and the lucky ones, they go over to America. And it's like over here in Germany, I can just walk now to Poland or to Austria. I can walk over the border, no worries. I'm not even going to get checked.
Right, because you have the Schengen agreement, you can just go through. Yeah. Yeah,
Schengen agreement, yeah.
Right.
And to get into the US is hard. I mean, it's hard. You get checked. It's like it's not as easy to get into the US as it is to get into Germany, which means you need a bit of money, you need to be smart, you need to be educated, which means the people in America, the Muslims that are in America that emigrated there or fled there, will be smarter, have a bit of money, you know what I mean? They are better educated.
Right.
And it's harder to get a really educated guy and to bomb someone because they say, why? Why?
Yeah.
I have my good life, I've got my job, I've got my family. Why do I need to bomb that house over there? But if you've got a person that's got no education, they live in Germany, in Belgium, in France, or wherever, and they don't even speak the language because they've not been educated.
Right.
And the lack of education and the lack of integration is the biggest flaw that we have in the EU, because we can bring in millions, we can support them. Germany's rich. We're really rich, honestly. We're rich. And Germany's always been rich. Even after the Second World War, we were still rich, more or less.
Yeah.
But the thing that's not happening here is the actual integration. Because of the flood of people. I know flood's a bad word, but it fits. The flood of people here is just... the system just says overload. The system is overloaded. If we've got like 100,000 a year, maybe we can do it. We need to get them all to learn German. We need to get them all to actually integrate, which means they go onto Christmas markets, they see people drinking alcohol, eating pig, eating bratwurst, and not thinking, these bloody Germans. You know what I mean? They need to say, oh yeah, You know, I don't want that. I don't need alcohol. I don't need that. My religion is this. But, you know, live and let live. Why intervene?
Right.
And that is the reason why we've had this now in Europe. The people are not being integrated. They're just getting thrown into ghettos where they all speak their language, where no one speaks the language of the place they're actually in. And that's why it's gone so bad over here, basically.
Well, do you feel that there are some people, especially younger people that maybe have been there for a generation, that are beginning to integrate into the society?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, I've got some friends that are Muslims. They're better educated than I'll ever be, to be honest.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Right.
There's always like these people that get the chance to do and to learn and to educate and to work. You know, they will make it up. But if you've got $1 million a year entering your country, you can't give them all jobs. There's no places in school for them. And what about the German children?
Yeah.
And things like that. You know, it's gone that far that we've got, if you don't have work, you get the money off the state, obviously, the dole, basically.
Right.
Or food stamps or things like that. And here, you get like a flat, an apartment, or a house or whatever, depending on the family size, and to live in. And the thing that's been really riling people up here is, imagine you're on the door, right, and you need help. You don't have a job or whatever, your wife doesn't have a job, you've got 3 kids. You live in a house. The house is owned by the state. And then the state says, you need to move out because the refugees need to go in there. And that's been happening over here.
Yeah. And this is the other thing that I really want to talk about is the reaction from, let's say, the quote unquote natives there in Germany, in Europe. You know, we've talked a lot on Facebook. You've told me that people are scared. People are beginning to arm up. And and you also mentioned at the beginning when we first started talking about that the right-wing parties are beginning to gain more momentum. And that's got to be a very interesting development, especially in a country like Germany, given the history there. So what's your feelings on all this?
Well, if we look at France, let's say Marie Le Pen, and you might have heard of her, extreme right-wing, you could say.
Yeah.
And in France, it's okay to be right-wing or left-wing or it doesn't matter really because everyone says, yeah, they're right because, or they're left or whatever. But in Germany, if you're right, on the right, if you're like in the AfD or whatever, which is basically the new right and that's emerged, which is basically not like, before them we had the MPD, which is basically skinheads and Nazis, basically, and that's all it was, folks.
And the Nazis are still officially banned in Germany. I mean, you cannot be a Nazi in Germany.
No, if you go up to any place in Germany and draw a swastika on the wall, you go into jail, mate.
Yeah.
It's illegal to be a Nazi, which is kind of funny, really.
Right.
Even the flags are banned. So, that's just banning flags. You know what I mean? It's like... it's the history. You know what I mean?
Well, we've had a similar things try to happen here, but we can.
I know about And the reaction of the people is mixed. And to be honest, it's hard to. It's a mixed bag. We want to help the people that are immigrating here or fleeing here, but the thing is, we don't want to be annexed out of our own homes. Yeah. And it's hard to put into words, and to be honest, it's like my girlfriend, she doesn't, I said, let's go to Hanover again, the Christmas market. You can just get on the train here and right there. And she said, I don't think that I want to go there this year. And I've got friends, on Facebook and that I know here. And they're writing me because obviously I'm a bit active on Facebook about all this kind of stuff. I repost things and stuff like that. And they message me in a private chat and they're saying, honestly, I'm not in the state of mind to talk about that openly, but I'm scared.
Yeah.
It's mostly girls, obviously, and women that are in that mindset, and a lot of guys that I know, they're like, how can I say, like, "Hoo, yeah, let's go." You know what I mean? They're like amping up.
Right. Yeah, and
Yes.
that's the thing is like, are we going to have like battles on the street? You know,
We already have battles on the street here, mate. It's just not been in the media that much.
yeah.
Honestly, just look at Hamburg a year ago. Migrants were like in a clash with clans that were already there on the street openly.
Right. And we're not getting that here. We're not getting that here.
Yeah. No, it's already begun. Honestly, it's already begun. Let's just say, in America, you can buy guns almost anywhere, right? In Germany, you need what's called a gun license, a Waffenschein. And there's like the 2 degrees of the actual gun license that you can have. It's the small license, which is basically for self-defense, which means sprays, anti-animal sprays, small hunting rifles, things like that. And then you have like the big gun license. The thing is, if you want a gun license, you need to be in a gun club, and you need to be in there for a year, and you need to have a profile done up. You need to have if you were ever in jail, you're never having a gun, and you're not even having a small anything. You know what I mean? And defending your family is not a reason in Germany to have a gun.
Now, there have been incidents in Europe. I mean, we recently, you may have heard this, we talked about the kid that walked into the school and targeted anybody with like brown skin. That was in Sweden. Yeah. And of course you have, Anders Breivik, which was kind of indirectly related to the Muslim issue. He was more going after socialists, but it had something to do with that. So we have heard some of this stuff that's kind of come through. A lot of it's kind of filtered through the UK and Daily Mail, those kind of newspapers like that.
Well, the thing with that is, no matter where you are, if you're in Australia, if you're in Germany or America or Sweden, or it doesn't matter where, you will always have nut jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you always have people that just snap. For one reason or another, they just snap and they go out and they kill some people. That's just how it is. I mean, a few years ago in China, a guy went into a school and just stabbed kids all day long. He just stabbed them.
Right. And the kid in Sweden, he used a sword. Yeah, he used a sword in Sweden.
Sword?
Yeah, he used a sword.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, he walked into a school and he was dressed in like a Darth Vader mask and like a Nazi helmet or like a stormtrooper helmet, and like a German stormtrooper helmet. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so he walked in there and he started stabbing people. And I think he killed 2 people.
He was like showing it off to people at first, and then
everyone
thought it was just like he was just
and kids were taking a picture with him and stuff. And
then he went on a rampage.
Wow.
Yeah, Rob, let's get you in here a little bit. If there's any questions you want to ask, Steve.
I wish I knew more about what was going on over there, but it's so filtered here, everything that we get. That's what makes this so great. It's such a refreshing viewpoint, As far as questions, God,
there's probably a bunch.
Yeah, well, and I don't know. I can't imagine what it's like over there. I just recently was seeing some pictures of I think some of the areas where there's you're talking about they're kind of grouping together and.
Yeah, the ghettos.
Yeah, and I don't know. That's all I had heard about it. Any of this really that you talked about was just like a couple little images and like a couple little blurbs on the news, and I just I don't know. Other than saying thanks for coming on,
no worries. Anytime.
That's the one thing, and that. We're getting over here now is that there's a great debate at the moment about whether we should let in, I think it's like 10,000 refugees or something, which
that honestly
is a drop in the bucket compared to what's been going on in Europe.
Well, especially with such a landmass that we have here compared to, a million people in Germany is a lot different than a million people in the United States.
Right.
Yeah, the thing is, though, in the US, Americans are the number one enemy of the terrorists, basically. That's just how it is. Because that's just how they see it. America's the devil. And it's understandable after 9/11 and things like that Americans will be very, let's say, harsh about bringing in the Muslims out of the war zones. That's just how it is.
We're on guard for sure.
Yeah, because...
well, I did like the statement you said earlier where you were talking about how you don't think... you think most of the ISIS agents that are going to be in Europe are already in Europe and have been there for a long time.
Yeah.
And the same is probably true here. Because, they have their resources. They don't need, I don't think, to disguise people as refugees to get them here.
Maybe to get them back and forth. But the thing is, in the US, it's hard to get in. Mm-hmm. So they will already be there, I would guess. In the EU, it's much easier to just, fly to Turkey, you walk over the border to Syria, because obviously the border is bloody open, of course.
Right.
And then you just swim back basically as a refugee, and then you get fed, you get clothed, you get a bit of money, and you're back in, you're back in your clan basically.
Yeah. It's a situation that's going to bear watching, and Stephen, thank you for coming on and giving us a little bit of insight on that. And I also know that it's nearly 2 a.m. over there for you, so we really appreciate you staying up and doing this with us tonight.
No worries.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a break here, guys. We're going to get L.A. Marzulli on the line, and we will be right back on Conspirinormal. Welcome back, guys, to Conspirinormal. And that was a great little mini interview that we just did with Stephen Ogden all the way in Germany. And we let him get off the phone and get to bed. So we have on the line for the next hour or so Mr. L.A. Marzulli. And L.A. Marzulli is someone that I've known about for a long time, pretty influential in my thinking as far as UFOs and what's going on there. I'd have to say him and Tom Horn kind of changed my mind and got me thinking of it in a different way. And we had Mr. Marzulli back last year, back at the beginning of June, in 2014. And we're happy to have him back, and we're going to talk about his book, Days of Chaos. Welcome back to Conspirinormal.
Great to be back here, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for coming on. We talked to you last year, and we kind of got a little bit of your background and who you are. So I really want to jump into the book and talk about. There's a lot to speak about because there's a lot in this book packed into about 200-something pages. So, what kind of compelled you to write this book, Days of Chaos? So why did you take a lot of the blog entries and kind of you felt compelled to write that?
Well, there are intros, outros, there are author's sidebars, so it's not just like I'm rehashing old material. That's not the point. The point is I've been writing the blog for about 8 years. And what I found interesting is the trend is not going away. And all the topics that we talk about in the 20 some odd chapters in the book, I sort of cherry picked the articles and links from the blog. And by the way, the book is available now. We're about to go up with the ebook, which means all the links will be hot. So for the serious student that really wants to dig deeper, all those links that I posted are hot. You can go and check them out yourself. And that, look, there are people that just don't believe. I call these folks, with all due respect, ostrich people. They walk around with their heads in the sand. I was on a radio show just recently, secular radio show, no real knowledge of prophecy or the word of God or any of that. I mean, the guy's, he's a natural man. I understand that. And he was trying to take me apart, which is fine. That's his job. And, I'm a big boy and can stand the heat in the kitchen to a degree. All right. And it was a very cordial exchange. But he said, well, L.A., why should we be believing us? And I said, well, look, I've been tracking this stuff on the blog for about 8 years. I said, let's just take a random chapter. Let's take Fukushima. Now, is Fukushima getting better or is it getting worse? And we were on Skype so I could see him. He starts squirming in his chair. And the next one we went to, what about the idea of earthquakes in diverse places? Are we getting more earthquakes or less earthquakes? Again, squirming in his chair. So I start going down the punch list, and finally after like 5 or 16, he goes, okay, I get it. And the bottom line is he did get it, and that's why I wrote the book. It's the subtitle is called An End Times Handbook. And what this is, it's, a lot of people out there, the ostrich people, they don't want to hear about this stuff. They're not interested in it. Don't confuse me with the facts. I like my little world, and you're really annoying me with this kind of stuff. And I want to say this right up front. What we're looking at is the beginnings of a cosmic regime change. That's what's coming. That's what's been foretold. What was foretold will unfold. What was written will come to pass. That's where we are. And this regime change is this cosmic regime change is about to take place, is in the process of taking place on planet Earth. And this is all hails back to the Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21 narrative by Yeshua, Jesus, who says, these are the signs of the coming of the end of the age. And this is what the regime change is about. The price was paid on Calvary. We all understand that. But the kingdom is not yet here. And, there are those who say, we have to take the kingdom. Well, good luck with that. Go tell ISIS that. It'll never happen. Right now, the planet is ruled by the fallen cherub. He's still the God, little g, of this world. But the regime change is in the process of taking place. I'm not a date setter. I have no idea when that's going to take place. But the signs in all of them in the Matthew 24 biblical prophetic narrative are all operating full tilt. And this is why the book was written. And when we go back and we examine the 8 years of blogging, we can see that there's a pattern happening here. That the situation, in spite of what people want to believe, is not getting better. It's getting worse. And that's good news for those of us who walk in a biblical prophetic narrative or view the world through a biblical prophetic lens or have a biblical worldview I'm assuming all of us do here. It's good news because that means the return of the king is imminent. The return of the king, the rider on the white horse, will happen at some point in the future. We're not there yet, but we're certainly ramping up to it.
The Matthew 24 that you're referring to, that is the verses that describe the earthquakes, rumors of war,
yes.
Wars and rumors of war, pestilence, famine, that type of description in those verses. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. We were just talking to someone about what's going on in the Middle East, or actually what's going on in Europe, but directly it has to do with the Middle East, and especially with the Paris attacks that just took place about a week or so ago.
Yep.
What do you see is going on with ISIS? How does a group like that fit into this idea, this scheme here?
Well, first of all, ISIS was more than likely created by the U.S. When I say the U.S., there's a shadow government that's been in place. By the way, today's is the anniversary of the JFK assassination.
Yes.
And we have not had a real president since then, in my opinion. The military-industrial complex, and there's probably a very dark liaison with them, and this goes back into the Roswell stuff, and I'm wearing my tinfoil hat even as I speak. But I think that the powers that be know what they're attempting, what they're trying to do, and that is a one-world global government run by the Antichrist at some point in time. We're not there yet, but my gosh, we're running towards it. So ISIS is more than likely a creation. In fact, I posited that months ago when they first rose to the scene, and sure enough, that intel was later picked up, and it's over the internet if you want to look at it, by multiple sources. They were created in Jordan with the CIA and the Jordanian help, and their mission, and remember, these are all Islamists, okay, but they're all Sunni Islamists. And again, I'm going to double back here. The Russians, the Chinese, the North Koreans are all backing the Shia Islamists, okay? The U.S. and Europe back the Sunni Muslims. So we're looking at World War III here because the Sunni and Shia Muslims hate each other and have so for basically 1,300 years.
Yeah, this is something I was talking to Luke about, the co-host who's not here, but we were talking about this the other day, and I was really coming to the point where I see that the Middle East is basically the theater that a lot of geopolitical struggles are being fought in right now.
Yes.
That's being fought, instead of being fought directly, it's being fought there.
Yeah, and we're backing the Sunnis, and the Ruskies and the Chaicoms and the North Koreans are backing the Shia, which is, of course, the Iranians. And they're going at it, and it's crazy. But ISIS was created basically to topple Bashar al-Assad. That's why they were created. And remember, Assad is an Alawite. He's not a Sunni. He's an Alawite. There's a big difference there. And that's why the Ruskies are backing Bashar al-Assad. And it's interesting how he's managed to hold on to the reins of power now for several years, where this so-called Arab Spring revolution continues to kill, thousands of people every week. There's also a clip, which I had on my blog, lamarzulli.wordpress.com, of a Russian drone over the city of Damascus. And as far as the eye can see, the surrounding cities have been reduced to ruinous heaps. We've been trying to get hard intel showing what Damascus really looks like. You can't find it anywhere. It's like a media blackout. It's not there. Has Damascus been, in fact, reduced to a ruinous heap? This fulfills the Isaiah 17 prophecy, which again, would be astounding if that's the case. The fact that the Ruskies are down in the Middle East, the Chaicoms are there, in my opinion, we're looking at the formation of the Ezekiel 38 scenario. And in the meantime, the Bill Salas Psalm 83 scenario may be also about to happen. We are in unpredictable, unprecedented, tenuous, tumultuous times. I've never seen anything like this. And that's why I think the book Days of Chaos, along with Watchers 9, by the same title, Days of Chaos, is incredibly apropos for the times that we find ourselves living in now.
The Psalm 83 scenario, that would be where Israel is attacked and then attacks back and takes a lot of the land there in the area.
Yes, it is. There are people, Bill's critics say that the 67 war did that. And they're right. I mean, the 67 war, certainly Israel expanded her borders. I mean, she was, 2 hours away from going up to Damascus and would have gone to Damascus.
Yeah,
I mean, they were ready.
United Jerusalem too, yeah.
Well, they were ready to go to Damascus. I mean, the Israeli forces, not only did they capture the old city and were flying the flag on the Temple Mount for a brief period of time before they ceded it back to the Islamists. Otherwise, they would have had, complete insanity at that point. So they were smart doing that. But they were hours away. They could have gone into Damascus easily. They captured great portions of the Sinai. Obviously, the West Bank, which they still hold, they're never going to give that up because that's where Jerusalem is, and on it goes. I mean, some people look at that and say, well, is that the fulfillment of 83? And Bill makes a very cogent argument that it's not. And based on the Ruskies and the Chaicoms, and down there now in Syria, it'd be very interesting to see what takes place. Look, Hezbollah is entrenched in the north, in Lebanon. It is, for all intensive purposes, the proxy army of the Iranians. And again, once again we see Sunni versus Shia, but Hezbollah is the proxy army. It's the arm of the Iranians. What you see in Yemen, the Houthis, which again are a proxy army of the Iranians. So in Gaza, we've got Hamas, which, of course, all these entities I just named are the sworn enemy of Israel. They want to establish an Islamic caliphate in Jerusalem. That's the end game. That's what they want to do. And so, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Iranians, the Houthis, ISIS, they're all trying, the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, they're all trying. Can you close that door, please? All trying to establish an Islamic caliphate with the capital in Jerusalem for the most part. I mean, that's where they're all. The Muslim Brotherhood, I show a clip at my conferences, places where I speak, and this fiery imam, this is several years ago when the now deposed Mohammed Morsi was elected Egyptian president, and I think he was in office less than a year, and the army took over, kicked him out. He's now he's been gone through the trial, and he's now on death row. Basically, they're going to kill him at some point unless something else changes. Who knows? But so much for Morsi. But the Muslim Brotherhood supported him, and Higazi, Safwa Higazi, is this very fiery imam who stands up at Tahrir Square. There are tens of thousands of people yelling, "To Jerusalem we go, martyrs in the millions." And he says, our capital, he says, I say it now, from the Delta, from the heart of Egypt, so the whole world can hear, that our capital will not be Mecca or Medina. Our capital will be Al-Quds, which is the Arabic name for Jerusalem. They don't call it Jerusalem. That's the Israelis' name. The Jewish people call it, Jerusalem. He calls it, and Muslims calls it Al-Quds. That's what it is. And you hear Al-Quds, Rahim, Mera Metzmahim, and they're saying in Arabic, to Jerusalem we go, martyrs in the millions. That's what they're saying. And
the Iranian force that's fighting over there in Syria right now is called the Al-Quds, the paramilitary force.
It's all about the liberation of Jerusalem. I mean, this is what we are looking at. I mean, it's right out of biblical prophecy, and the natural man can't understand it. But the supernatural man, the man who is born from the spirit of a living God and understands the biblical prophetic narrative, can see that it's all unfolding according to plan. Again, we are looking at the nascent beginnings of a cosmic regime change. That's what this is all about. In the meantime, all hell is breaking loose, literally, on the planet. And that's what the book Days of Chaos is about.
Right. I want to ask you a little bit about the animal die-offs, the fish and animal die-offs.
Sure.
So, this is something when you a lot of those that you had in the book, those blog entries were from 2011, and I certainly remember that at the beginning of that year, the fish die-offs and the birds falling from the sky. Has there been any recent cases of that that's more recent that's been going on? Because I haven't heard a lot about this, and a lot of that's news. There's some news hype and hoopla there, and once they're not interested in a subject, they of course will drop it, and you won't hear about it.
160,000 antelopes dropped dead in a field in Kazakhstan.
Wow,
Kazakhstan.
When was that?
About a month ago, 2 months ago. 160,000. 160,000 antelopes dropped dead. 30, I think either blue whales or humpback whales beached themselves up in Alaska about a month ago. It is literally ongoing, and you got to dig for it on the net, but it's there, and they don't talk about it because they want people to wake up. But it's an ongoing event. It's not every week, but it's alarming to me. And, see, the thing is, people will try to stop, LA, it's the only reason why we know about this is because we're all connected now with the internet. Baloney. Absolute baloney. And here's why. People will say, earthquakes. Well, now we know about the earthquakes, LA, because we've got the internet and information age and everything else. Look, folks, here's the deal. Several years ago, I love that voice. Isn't it great? Several years ago, in Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma, the average amount of earthquakes were 2 a year. Right now, Oklahoma is the earthquake capital of the world. Now, they're getting close to 700 earthquakes. And then of course, the skeptic poo-poos it. Well, LA, these are small earthquakes. Look, guys, they're earthquakes. Okay? Something's wrong here. Something's shaking. The ground isn't happy. Is it the Madrid fault line? I don't know. They don't know. Is it fracking? Is it a combination?
I was going to ask you about the fracking, whether that was.
It may play a part in it, but I don't know. 700 earthquakes. They're nearing 700 earthquakes in 2015. It's now the earthquake capital of the world. I mean, it's just wacky, but no one knows why. Is it the Madrid fault line that's waking up? Does it have something to do with the BP oil spill? We don't know because the Gulf Stream may have changed. I mean, look, if we just take one isolated incident, it's easy to say, it's always been this way. You start combining the 20 chapters or so in the book, and it's people go, oh my gosh, it's not business as usual. This thing's coming down like a freight train on steroids, and that's the position I hold to. And all one needs to do is look at the Middle East, the Fukushima disaster, the endless troublesome times, the rise of lawlessness everywhere, the earthquakes in diverse places, the coming financial collapse. Are you kidding me? The 1 billion abortions on the planet with a B? I mean, this is unprecedented. We've never had abortions like this. Yeah, they've always been abortions, but 1 billion since Roe v. Wade? Are you kidding me? This is like opening the gates of hell. It's a ritualistic blood sacrifice, which is global. And this is why it's another signal that we're in the last days.
You know, the fish and animal die-offs, like the link to the earthquakes there. I mean, that could very easily link to just the amount of just the increase in volcanic activity, the increase in the earthquakes. Another thing that I have heard, and I heard this recently, was there are some scientists that have said that we're in like the 6th great extinction or something like that. And a lot of it's being caused by humanity and what humans have been doing.
Well, you know, they'll always say it's, and they'll always back it up in the global warming. I mean, that's what they do. I mean, it's always global warming, and you know, this is this is the classic wag the dog thing with the global warming thing. It's like, you know, you'll either believe in global warming or we will shoot you. I mean, that's basically what it's at. There are actually some people are calling for this, you know, and it's absolutely crazy. There is no such thing as global warming. It's not happening. I mean, Mount St. Helens put out more carbon monoxide in the air than every car on the planet since the freaking Industrial Revolution. I mean, are you kidding me? So, look, while the pollution in China is bad, the pollution in LA has been cleaned up for the most part. So something is happening on the planet. Nobody really knows what it is. In my opinion, these are the last days. These are the end times. With the fish and animal die-off that we see happen, and I'm actually on someone's YouTube thing talking about severe weather. This was November 18th. I mean, we had snow today, you know, up in the Dakotas. Wild, crazy weather. Record drought, record flooding, record snow, record heat. I mean, it's all over the map. But what's causing it? You know, the Book of Job. When we look at it, the Book of Job tells us that the fallen cherub is able to control the weather on some level. He's able to do stuff, you know, and we take this, the natural man again will take all this and just, this is just wacky weather. They never look to the supernatural. And I err probably too much to the side of the supernatural. I think some of what we are seeing literally bears the fingerprints of the fallen cherub all over it. I think this is what he does. He causes chaos. You know, and look, when Jesus is in the boat and that storm comes up, threatens to sink the boat, and the disciples are, you know, fearing for their lives, I think that's the finger. I wrote about this in the book, my book, The Cosmic Chess Match. I think the reason for this is he's trying to kill him. He's trying to kill him all through his ministry. I mean, that's why he's here for 3.5 years. That's all that the fallen cherub tries to do. Kill, kill, kill. Rob, kill, and destroy. That's his job. That's what he tries to do. And so when Jesus is in the boat, that storm comes up. Where did that thing come from? You know, why all of a sudden is this? And then Jesus goes, be still. Boom. Just like that. 2 words, be still, knocks the power out of it. So, you know, I think the fallen cherub is certainly not God, but I think he's got a lot of power. And I think we need to understand that some of what we are looking at may be caused by the fallen cherub himself. So, you know, you start putting all this together in the cosmic blender, as it were, and I think it's right on track for the you know, the unfolding of the end times.
One thing I wanted to ask you about was the spirit of lawlessness, and
yes,
you do talk about in the introduction to the book about one of the things that did compel you to write this was the zombie attacks in Miami. Do you remember this, Rob?
Oh yeah,
you remember that? Yeah, I mean this was crazy stuff. And let's talk to that just a little bit about the zombie, like the quote unquote zombie attack.
Here's just something before I get to that. Here is Sanibel Island, massive fish die-off. Hold on, let me just pull it up here, see where it is. Breaking news, November 18th, 2015, and it's this: Sanibel Island, massive fish kill.
Wow.
And, yeah. Hold on.
As you heard, still
crazy stuff.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean it's just everywhere. I mean it happens all the time, but people have to look for it because the media isn't going to cover it. The zombie apocalypse, the zombie attack in Miami, when this happened, the news media, oh my gosh, he's on bath salts. So now back to you, Bob. And that's what they were doing. And this guy's, this crazy man, Rudy Eugene, was supposedly high on bath salts. He strips naked of all his clothes, and he attacks this homeless man, Popo. And after subduing the man, he starts chewing on his face. Now, that's insane. There's no way around it. Normal people don't do this. And the media is going, touting the bath salt thing, and this is what it is. And, the bath salt is just like Benghazi really didn't happen because a bunch of Islamists on the anniversary of 9/11 who were radicalized, jihadists, they didn't see a little movie by some nutcase in Hollywood who makes this B movie. They never saw the movie. It's a classic wag the dog.
That was just such crap. LA. That
Absolute
really was
nonsense. Nonsense. It's classic wag the dog. And instead they go and they sodomize our ambassador. They take a cattle prod and spark his genitals for a few hours before they sodomize him, and then they kill him. And what does our president do? Classic wag the dog thing. And Hillary Clinton, who's responsible for this, it's on her watch. She's running for office. Are you kidding me? Seriously?
What difference? What difference does it make?
It doesn't make any difference because everything's
that's what she said. Remember? Yeah. What difference does it make?
Unbelievable. Look, you could have Winnie the Pooh running for president, and if he ever got elected, I have a small piece of fluff in my ear. Nothing would change because he's just a puppet, just like Obama is, in my humble opinion. Okay, so the zombie apocalypse is going on. Classic wag the dog. It's all going to be bath salts, and Rudy Eugene is high on bath salts, and the media is running. This is what bath salts is, Bob, and when you mix these bath salts together, it makes someone crazy. And I blog. I think I may have been the only person on the planet to blog. Who knows? I stated, first of all, this is not bath salts. We are looking at supernatural forces, specifically the demon who was a Nephilim, because this is what the demons who roam the earth are, the disembodied spirits of a Nephilim, in my opinion. That's what they are. They're not fallen angels. Fallen angels are fallen angels. Demons are the disembodied spirits of a Nephilim wiped out in the flood. So I go, this has the telltale marks of a Nephilim spirit. It's a demon that inhabited this guy. Well, guess what? 30 days later, when the toxicology report comes out on Rudy Eugene, because, oh, by the way, when the policeman came on the scene, he's there. Rudy Eugene is laying on top of Popo, chewing his face. Isn't that lovely? And he fires a warning shot, and Rudy Eugene doesn't respond. He turns and growls at the guy. He then fires a shot in his leg. Again, nothing. And this guy won't stop. So the policeman finally kills him because this he's looking at something which is, by the way, the policeman who was there and did this left the force and is now on disability leave. And who wouldn't be? What he witnessed was the supernatural. What he witnessed was something so visceral, so demonic that he really needs help in dealing with it. And he's not going to get it from a secular psychiatrist, but I digress. So Eugene is killed. They do the toxicology report 30 days later. And remember, I'm the guy blogging about this, saying that this wasn't a bath salt occurrence. This man was possessed by a Nephilim spirit. Sure enough, 30 days later, the toxicology report comes out. All they found was traces of marijuana. Surprise, surprise. There's no bath salts in Rudy. Well, and the media doesn't say word one about it.
Right.
Which is, very typical. They never say anything.
It was already off the news cycle.
Off the news cycle. Now we're on the Bruce Jenner sex change or whatever, right? So that's where we are. That's where we are. And this incident to me was very telling because the dark forces are ramping up. Make no mistake about it. It is ramping up. Lawlessness is everywhere. No one is safe anymore. Do you think ISIS is not the epitome of lawlessness? I don't know what is. If ISIS, these people are absolute murderers, they are thugs, they are jihadists, and they need to be killed, period. They need to be exterminated like cockroaches are. And I really mean that.
with all the sincerity I can muster, because you are never going to change their ideology. And they can look at you with right in the eye, and the next minute they'll slit your throat. And that's where they are. And that's what happened in Paris, and that's what happened in Mali, and it's going to continue, guaranteed. Watch the Christmas season in this country. And God, I hope I'm wrong. But I blogged about it, lamarzulli.wordpress.com. I have stated unequivocally that our morals and our schools are soft targets. It already happened in Oregon. We still know nothing about the shooter, do we? Nothing at all about the shooter. Nothing.
Yeah.
He was very troubled. We need to round up the guns. Are you kidding me? No. Every teacher needs to arm themselves and carry in every single school. Every security officer needs to be carrying a weapon, okay? If everyone's carrying a weapon, guess what? No one's going to open fire. Just think, if the security guards had been armed at that venue, at the Bataclan, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong because I'm not French, Bataclan, however you pronounce it in France, right? If the security guards had been armed, the outcome may have been way different. But no one,
there probably would have been a lot less deaths. Yeah,
they know. They know that no one's armed. And the same thing in the malls. Watch the stupid movie Mall Cop. The guy rides around on a Segway. That's going to do a lot of good, right? Charge him with your Segway. Hit him over the head with your lunch thermos. That'll do really. The malls are a soft target here in America. And that's deeply, deeply troubling. And they always go, L.A., you've got nothing to worry about here. The policemen are only 5 minutes away. In 5 minutes with an AK-47, do the math. How many people can you kill? And these people aren't stupid. It's already happened in Nigeria, where they took over a mall, and I don't know what the body count was, 50, 100, 200. It doesn't matter. But it's coming here. And the fact that our president, with all due respect, is acting like an absolute lunatic, allowing these people into this country. It is unconscionable, in my opinion. It is a impeachable offense, and the Republicans, of course, don't have the backbone to do anything. So, other than bow down to Emperor Obama, but it's absolute insanity that he's allowing these people into this country. And then you get idiots, with all due respect, like Michael Moore. Oh, let the Syrian refugees come here. Hey, Mike, guess what? Let's let them into your house and see how much they really care for you and your way of life and your freedom that you enjoy, Mike. Let's see what happens. Let's see, in fact, if you're not beheaded in the first week, because that's more than likely what's going to happen. Because they don't care for your freedom, Michael. They don't care for freedom of speech. You have freedom of speech. You can create all the anti-American dribble that you want to. But guess what, Mike? We have the freedom not to watch it if we don't want it. If we don't want to watch it. These people don't like freedom. And that's why they kill and they behead and they perform atrocities. But, Mike, I guess you really don't understand that. And I'm calling you out on this show because, with all due respect, sir, you are a clueless individual. And that's the end of that rant.
Michael Moore just got called out on our show. How you feel about that, Rob?
Well, yeah.
I just wonder what the solution is to all that. Really, I just wonder what the solution.
Are we having fun yet?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll always with you, LA. What the solution is to all this. I mean, especially this refugee crisis and what's going on with the refugees. The potential of them bringing them here. It really is. There's a lot of different conflicting information that's out there, and I just wonder. I guess the end game. What is is there a nefarious purpose? I guess here.
Yeah, I actually blogged about this on Friday.
Okay.
The nefarious purpose is out of chaos order, and all you need to do, and they're doing it already. Merkel's going to bring 1 million Islamists into Germany. It's madness, and everybody knows it's madness, and no one does anything about it. What this will do is create chaos, and then they will ride in with the solution, the one world government. That's where all this is going, and this is what out of the chaos will come order. This is the Illuminati game plan. This is what's happening. It is madness to do this. This is why I'm quoting Ted Cruz here, who called Obama's actions lunacy, and it is. It's absolute lunacy. There's no doubt about it. Here's the deal. The Saudi Arabians have a tent city which can house up to 3 million people. 3 million people. The Saudis have a tent city, and it's air conditioned. Hello, that's what it is. It's air conditioned. And how many refugees are they taking? Last time I checked, pretty much nothing.
See, that's the part that really blows my mind, that these neighboring countries would not take any of these people. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, these richer Gulf states are not going to take any of these people or take responsibility for them. That just blows my mind. You would think that somebody who makes international agreement of Europe would say to these people, we're not going to take all these people. You need to help out.
They don't care. It's the Islamization of Europe. And unfortunately, the people are too dumb and too limp-wristed and worrying about lattes and living off a government goal. And you remember, our blood and treasure liberated Europe. Thank you very much. My father landed in D-Day. So, I don't want to hear any nonsense from the French about it. But, what they need to do is grow a backbone and stand up and realize that they're losing their country, their culture, and their way of life. And, interesting enough, Mark Stein has a book, which I read years ago, which is just phenomenal. And he talks about the Islamization of Europe, which will happen within 20 years. And he's right. What will happen is because of the abortions in those countries, they have negative birth rates because the people abort their babies. And so when they abort their babies, they have a negative birth rate. So the Muslims come in and they have 5, 6, 7, 8 children. Guess what? In a generation, they become the majority population. This is all very calculated. This is what they're trying to do. The ideology of Islam is world domination. It is a fascist ideology. It is not a religion. It's a political movement. And Americans don't have a clue with the likes of Hillary, Clinton and Obama. Isn't it interesting that Ahmed Mohammed, the clock boy, builds a clock? He doesn't make anything, first of all. He didn't build a clock. He took the innards from one clock that someone else built and put it in a little small display case. And it looked like a bomb. And, because of the political correct nonsense, if it had been a bomb and it blown up, okay, no harm, no foul. We need tighter security. We need to round up the guns somehow. But the fact that no one, the people acted, in my opinion, in the right way. This guy was expelled from school because it looked like a bomb. And the teachers are kind of going like, I don't know what I'm looking at here, but I need to call the authorities in. Smart move. Bully for you. Now they're going through sensitivity training. The interesting sensitivity training, guys.
The interesting thing I've heard about that
ridiculous
was that his father is some kind of activist in the community.
He's an activist.
There.
Yeah.
And but there were other things that were happening in this same town. There was the mayor of the same town had come out and said that we're not going to allow Sharia law in this town. And so it almost seems like this was you're right. It was a very political thing in a way to kind of set these people up almost. Here comes this Middle Eastern kid or Middle Eastern descent, walks in with this with this clock that's got nothing around it, so it's just component parts, but it still works and it's still counting. And when you first read the story, like when you see it on Facebook, you think, oh, poor kid. You got Obama sitting there saying like, nice clock.
Nice clock. Come to the White House.
To the White House. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
he invites.
When you really look at the story, it's totally there's more to it than just that.
Oh, way more.
Yeah.
Here we go. 337 whales beached in largest stranding ever. 337 whales beached in largest stranding ever. The cause of the massive die-off, discovered in remote waters off Patagonia, Chile, is being investigated. Scientists say they are most likely sea whales, which are endangered. Now back to you, Bob. I mean, this is it. It's just wacky.
And then they start talking about the Kardashians or Bruce Jenner.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Oh, I'm sorry, Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah, Caitlyn. Oh, sorry. Call me Caitlyn. I mean, Do you realize how crazy we are? It's just like the only way out of this mess, guys, may be up, and I mean that. I long to see the return of the true king, because you're not going to change this. We're never going to change the ideology of the imams and the mullahs in Iran. It's never going to change. You're not going to change the ideology of ISIS. That's never going to change. We can't fix a $19 trillion debt that we have in this country. And they spend more and more and more, every year. And by the way, this nut job, with all due respect, Mr. Sanders, Bernie Sanders, he wants to even increase the taxes more and make us a socialist nation. Excuse me, sir, the Russians already did this for about 75 years and proved that it doesn't work. It doesn't work, okay?
I find
Why are we doing this again?
I find Sanders interesting in the appeal that he has to young people, but the socialist thing, I can't get behind that, I really can't.
Well, the problem is the under 30 crowd here, all you guys want is free stuff. I mean, it just amazes me. Free stuff.
I'm almost 40, LA, so don't include me in there.
Well, I'm saying you guys, rhetorically here, hopefully. But I mean, the younger generation are going, well, I get emails from these kids in their 20s. Oh, hey man, you need to make this stuff for free now. Like, people have like a right to know. Like, you know what I mean, man? Like, for all. And I'm going like, excuse me, sir, why don't you come over and pay for my car payment? Oh, and by the way, I'm feeling a little hungry right now. Can I come over to your house and you can cook us dinner? How does that sound? And you never hear from them again because, all of a sudden you shine the light of reality. It cost me hundreds of hours to produce a book and thousands of dollars. And I have no idea who's going to buy it or who isn't.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
So what do I do with that? Make it free, so you can have free stuff. Welcome to socialism. And it sucks. It doesn't work.
I want to ask you this.
Yes.
You had you had mentioned this kind of like the Illuminati plan. And is there... Because I really feel like sometimes that there is a plan, whatever you want to call it, the Illuminati, whatever, 4-H club, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, the powers that be, the hidden hand, as someone I know likes to call them. Do you think that there might be a program to pit Islam and Christianity and Judaism against each other?
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. I've written about this extensively. It's called the coming one world religion, the Great Deception. And again, you create the chaos and then you bring the answer in. And the answer, of course, is the so-called extraterrestrial. There are 3 chapters on this. There's a thing called the Dark Knight, which I'm posting on the blog tomorrow. It's all around this.
We're totally surrounded.
Yeah, we're totally surrounded by this stuff, and that's the answer. And the Pope has positioned himself, like Chris Putman talks about, for the coming Great Deception, the revealing of a so-called extraterrestrial presence. That's the coming Great Deception. That creates the one world global religion. That stops all the nonsense and amalgamates all these diverse cultures and nationalities, because now all of a sudden our creators are here. And guess what? The creators, our gods, little g, will have free stuff. Oh, I love that. They'll have free energy. The energy that pilots the craft will be available to every person on the planet for free. Free energy. Then they'll show us the DNA upgrade that we all need to get. And that DNA upgrade, you can only get it if you become a citizen of the world. Bum, bum, bum. And you become a citizen of the world, of a new global governance. And then you can get the free DNA implant, which is inserted as a little chip underneath your skin, and you change. And now you can live for 500 years or 700 years disease-free. But that chip, I believe, and I've written about this, is the mark of the beast. That's what it really is. And it will change the very essence of your humanity so that you become a modern-day Nephilim. That's what you become.
It's going to mess up your DNA?
Completely.
I guess.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Recently, last month, we had Dr. David Jacobs on the show.
Oh, I love his stuff. Just read his book.
Me too. And just read it myself. And what do you think about his latest book? About the walking among us, about the fact that there could be these, and I know where you come from on this, and I know that you don't see it in the same light that he does. You see it more in the light that I probably would see it. But what is your take on what he's writing about these hybrids, or as he calls them, hybrids, that are being integrated into society?
Well, we've had reports. I've written about it in the news magazine.
I read that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Pastor Mike McClung was out for a prayer walk near where he lives on a beautiful summer day. This happened about 3 months ago, and right after it, he texted me. You're not going to believe what happened. I still have a text. And, I interviewed him shortly thereafter, sent him like a bunch of different questions, and he answered the questions in a written format, and those were posted on the news magazine. But the bottom line is this. He's out for this prayer walk praying for people. In the distance, he sees a very tall, athletic woman, very young, in her 20s or 30s, very athletic looking, 6'3", 6'4", strikingly whitish blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail. And, okay, that's a little odd, but, there are female basketball players that look like that. So, okay, no big deal here. But he's never seen this woman before, and he's just kind of looking at her. Having been a spiritual man for a number of years, decades, and very aware of the demonic and spiritual warfare, the moment he sees her, he's like uneasy because he knows that feeling, and he begins to pray. As she comes closer, they make eye contact, and she has very pale blue eyes. As she comes even closer, the eyes change from pale blue to dark black, jet black. At that point, Mike begins to speak out loud and rebuke it in the name of Jesus, basically saying, no curse will alight upon me, my family, or anything. You must leave, you foul and unclean thing. And as this woman, who I believe was a hybrid being, because her eyes just shifted to black, passes Mike, she bares her teeth and growls at him. Now, what does that sound like to you?
Well, it sounds like something demonic. I know you're going, but it also sounds like the Black-Eyed Kids.
Black-Eyed Kids, which we believe were the vanguard of the coming hybrids that Dr. Jacobs writes about. I think she was a hybrid. I have a report from a woman, which was in last month's news magazine, of two, this is in Alaska, of two hybrid beings that she encountered. And it's a riveting interview, absolutely riveting interview. Same thing. They're weird. They're hybrid beings. They can integrate to a point, but then it falls flat on their face, just like Jacobs is talking about, where the woman that she saw was in her gym. She's a gym rat, this woman who I interviewed. And she's been a gym rat for like over 30 years. So this woman is there. And again, she's very athletic looking, and she's doing all these machines and everything else. But she's also with what we would call a handler, what Jacobs would call a handler. There's this short, kind of frumpy, out of shape woman who's with her the whole time. What's she doing there? Completely out of place in the gym, and she's not working out. Well, they go into the locker room, and the hybrid, I'll use that term, or the hybrid, changes and goes into the shower. Well, this woman doesn't want to stare, but this woman's body, the hybrid's body, does not look human. And, her hackles are up on end. I mean, it's just weird. Everything about her is weird. She looks very androgynous. Something's wrong here. And she goes back and she puts on, get this, the same dirty, sweaty clothes that she just changed out of. See what I mean? This fits Jacob's description. In fact, I gotta write David. I got to talk to David about this because I've got information that he needs to hear because it substantiates what he's writing about. And I'm getting, not second or third hand information. I'm getting information from people who don't have a Dr. Jacobs, dog in the hunt. You know what I mean? They haven't read his book. I need to tell them about this, and I'll send them an email soon, maybe right after the show. But the bottom line is this woman gets dressed in the same sweaty, dirty clothes that she just changed out of. That's wacky. Normal people don't do that. And then the person that I interviewed who's viewing this, she didn't know how to put her socks on. She was struggling with her socks, wasn't sure what they did, how they fit, how to put them on. The handler came in and helped her. Same thing with the shoes. Same thing with the shoes. Not sure how to tie them, what to do, and the handler helped her. So, it's just, look, guys, I wasn't there. I don't know. But, I'm in the process right now of getting my new TV studio up and running. We're going live here, hopefully before Christmas. And, there's so much to talk about. And the blog, video is king. Let's face it. And, I'm going to be doing lots of Skype interviews with people, but this is the kind of stuff we're going to be talking about and have videos and stuff. And, people send me stuff all the time. I mean, for instance, the idea of the Dark Knight. I mean, we need to show that video and show it to people and then comment on it. I'll blog about it tomorrow, but my gosh, that's, you don't see it until you can see it, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what I'm looking at. So, look, once again, days of chaos. We are in unpredictable, unprecedented times, and it's not getting any better. And everything is firing. All the signs that Yeshua warns us of are all firing on all 8 cylinders. And people need to wake up and see and start doing their own research. That's why I call the book an End Times Handbook, because that's what it is. It's an End Times Handbook.
One of the interesting chapters, and it's a shorter chapter, but this is something I really wanted to chomping at the bit to talk to you about this whole week, is the Marian apparitions.
Sure.
And I actually, the documentary that you cited on that in the book, I actually went and watched because it's on YouTube. You can watch it for free. And very interesting documentary. I thought in some ways it didn't go far enough in exposing exactly what it is that people are dealing with. And I'm going to be honest with you. I have always, with that, the Marian apparition stuff, I would hear about it and I really want to give it a second thought. But if I did, usually that stuff always kind of creeped me out. There was always something just weird about it. Like nothing, it did not make any sense to me that there's a lot disturbing about it to me. And so I just kind of wanted to get your ideas on what that is that people are seeing. And one of the things you've talked about a lot in your books, Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural, you did discuss a lot about Fatima and that manifestation there. And there's a lot of tie-ins with UFOs. Yeah. And in that one, is specifically in Fatima.
And what people don't understand about Fatima, they need to go and either buy my book or the Armada's book, Celestial Lights, fascinating book. And the bottom line is these Marian apparitions are, in my opinion, a harbinger of the coming Great Deception. And the link that I show in the book, and I show this video to people when I'm out on the road, is a so-called Marian apparition over a Coptic church several years ago, 2009, not that long ago, in Egypt. And Muslims and Christians are gathered together in front of this Coptic church and all hand clapping and, doing the whole deal.
Ululating.
Yeah, ululating in front of a church. And the mayor was so freaked out that he had all the electrical turned off to the entire town to make sure this wasn't a hoax. And it's not a hoax. And you see 4 apparitions, 4 light beings. One looks sort of feminine because it's got this long blue trail. The other one looks like the baby Jesus. It's always a baby. I mean, what? Then there's Joseph, supposedly, and then the angel. There's four globs of light. That's all it is. No one's rebuking this thing and asking questions later. No one's challenging it. They're all clapping their hands and basically worshiping this thing. And this is how far down the rabbit hole we are in 2015. Nothing has changed. People are so easily deceived. Even Christians. When I show people this at conferences, they sit there with their jaw on the ground going, I had no idea this was going on, LA. It's time for the church to get out of the 4 walls and start looking at the weather report, In other words, check the weather report out, but get out and see what the weather's actually doing. Because it's nasty out here. And that's where I live. I live in the weather. And what's going on is unprecedented. And so the Marian apparitions, in my opinion, are harbingers of the coming great deception. And we see how easy it is for people to be deceived by anything remotely supernatural. UFO in the sky, oh my gosh, look at those lights. No one's rebuking. No one's saying, in the name of Jesus, the Lord rebuke you. No one's saying that. And that's the first thing we rebuke first, ask questions later.
The Marian apparition thing is just such that documentary was so interesting in the fact that they use the words that, and I'm assuming that you've seen it, the words that they had that are supposedly come from the what is purported to be the Virgin Mary,
right?
The phrase co-redemptrix,
right,
which is, I mean, right there.
Right there.
I mean, that's just, I mean, that's not even mainstream Christian thought. And then secondly, the phrase Queen of Heaven.
There you go. Down in Jeremiah.
And I think the reason why it's always a baby is because, well, before Christianity, that's what you had. Pictures of Isis with Horus, other goddesses with their children. I mean, I think that's the reason. That's the reason why. So it really makes me think of stuff in your work, especially with you. You talk about the Prince of Persia, the principalities and powers of darkness, and that's probably one of them that has set itself up as a god and has just morphed itself and adapted itself to the new belief system.
Well, I'm assuming you're talking about Jim Tetlow's film,
right?
Queen of Heaven, yeah.
Queen of Heaven, yes.
Yeah, we actually carry that. It's a fascinating documentary. Jim passed away a couple of years back. We sorely missed. Long, slow decline health-wise. And the enemy, doesn't like that because he's a watchman. Jim was a watchman. And, I spoke to him often on the phone in the good years. And, we bandied about all sorts of ideas when he was well enough to do so. And I miss him. I considered him a friend. And we still carry some of his work, Messengers of Deception. But that's what they are. That's what these apparitions, you mentioned the idea of co-redemptrix, which is absolutely blasphemous.
Yeah.
It is. It's blasphemous. And that's the problem. I mean, the Catholic Church, with all due respect to Catholics out there, they need to start reading their Bibles and understand that there's only one Redeemer, and he's not on the cross anymore. My gosh, quick, get him off the cross. You've already seen, but the Pope walks around with, Yeshua on the cross. He's a risen Savior. That's what he is. And he's coming again soon. And so there is no co-redemptrix, which is absolute blasphemy, that Mary was not assumed into heaven. Mary fades from the biblical prophetic narrative right after the book of Acts. We hear nothing from her. Do I revere her? Absolutely. Is she blessed among all women? Absolutely. I'm not taking any of that. She's the God bearer, for crying out loud. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible, but she's not the queen of heaven. It doesn't work like that. She's a sinner, like we all were. I mean, just like Peter is not the first pope. This is all the invention of man. They're just making this stuff up as they go along. They create a religion so they can control the masses and make lots of money. Go to the Vatican and look at the wealth. You could take that wealth and go to South America, with all due respect to Catholics. Go to South America and look at the abject poverty the people are in.
I've been there. I've been to Brazil.
So have I.
I know.
And you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
But there's an ornate cathedral on every corner. Oh, yeah, in every town, there's an ornate Catholic cathedral. And the people give and give and give and give and give, and there is no middle class. And you can, in my opinion, and I think Francis Schaeffer in his books, which I've read, talks about this, that a strong case can be made that the freedoms and prosperity that we enjoy in the West can be directly traced to the Protestant Reformation. That changed everything. And the fact that the United States Constitution was penned, for the most part. Now, I get it. There were what's the word I'm looking for? The guys with the little apron, the Masons were there. I get it. There were Masonic influences. I get it. All right. But the bottom line is the Constitution and the Declaration was penned from a biblical overview, a biblical worldview, in my opinion. And not everyone was a deist. Not everyone was a Mason, and that's why we have the freedoms that we have in this country. No other country on the planet has it. There's no other country that has it. And in my opinion, it can be directly traced back to the Protestant Reformation, which created this great nation. Has this nation screwed up? Are you kidding me? Look what we did to the Native Americans. Look at the black mark, no pun intended, of slavery. And, we're still wrestling with that, and we're still paying the price for it. So, unfortunately, there is no quick fix. There's no easy answer. I only know that my hope is in the return of Yeshua, the Messiah. That's the game changer. And I think we're in the process, like I stated early on, of looking at the beginnings of a cosmic regime change. And that's where we are. That's why the book Days of Chaos is so apropos.
Was there anything that you wanted to ask, Rob, or anything that you wanted to...
As per usual, I'm just trying to process. I'm nowhere near as well versed as Adam in any of these topics.
I wanted to ask you one before we get out of here. One question about you do have a section in the book about the rise of anti-Semitism,
right?
Well, there's been a lot of. Well, do you see that that rise of anti-Semitism has been because of the actions of Israel, or do you think that there's more of a and obviously I believe you would say that there's more of an outside influence there, but there's some interesting things that you cover in that, like the banner in Tahrir Square about the new Holocaust, and then
what do you do with that? What do you do with that? Stop right there. Why haven't the American people seen that banner? Why hasn't our media shown the American people what's really going on?
It certainly doesn't paint that crowd in a good light, does it?
Oh, it certainly doesn't, does it? There it is. One nation under a new Holocaust. We don't see that here. Just like we don't see the body count every week or every month for how much of our blood and treasure not only died in Afghanistan, but the fact that our returning blood and treasure to this country, who are wounded, who have a problem, get no help. Meanwhile, let's allow all the refugees in and put them up in the Days Inn. We'll make sure we do that. We'll make sure we bring as many Muslims and Islamists and everything else here, but we won't take care of our own. It's absolutely unconscionable where we are in this country. Completely lopsided, completely out of touch with reality. Completely out of touch with reality.
Yeah. I think South Park's been mining that ground pretty well the last few episodes.
There you go. Israel was founded at the end of World War II. And people who don't study their history come up with these ridiculous assertions like somehow this is the synagogue of Satan. I address this in the book. First of all, what most people don't realize, there's been a continual Jewish presence all throughout the Middle East since the diaspora. So, yes, there are Jews that came in from Europe. I get that. But there are also Jews that came in from what is now Iraq or Jordan or Syria or Lebanon. And, I forgot to mention this, that those countries did not exist before World War I. And that's what people don't get. They're always talking about the poor Palestinians and the Palestinian homeland. Are you kidding me? There is no such thing as a Palestinian. That's invented. There are no Palestinian people. They are indistinguishable from their Arab neighbors. They are just Arabs. But they've taken on this mantle of being Palestinian. There are no Palestinians. They're all Arabs. And they're indistinguishable literally from the Jordanians or from the people in Lebanon. What the dirty little secret that people don't tell the American people, and most people, because our teachers don't teach history anymore, they teach propaganda. But at the end of World War I, when the Ottoman Turks lost their empire because they sided with the Germans in World War I, the victors were the British and the French, who came in and carved up the Ottoman Empire and created the states that we see now. The countries that we see now were formed by Britain and France. They have nothing to do with anything. Syria, Lebanon, what is now Israel, Jordan, and Iraq. And Egypt was given its independence. Even Egypt was in some ways carved up and set apart from the Ottoman Empire. People need to understand this. And then what people don't understand is at the end of World War II, people said, oh, the Brits were all in charge of this and the Brits made the Israel. Nonsense. The British fleet ran a blockade preventing Jewish immigrants to settle in Israel. Most people don't know that.
Yeah, I know that.
And they turned them back.
Right.
They turned them back.
Yeah.
So isn't it funny how it's okay to have Syria and Lebanon and Jordan and Iraq and Egypt, but somehow we can't have Israel. Somehow the Israelis are not allowed this teeny weeny tiny little bit of land smaller than New Jersey. They're not allowed to be there. And yet they have a right to the land, in my opinion, because of the biblical mandate given them thousands of years ago. They've had a continual presence in the Middle East. And just like prophecy tells us, specifically in Ezekiel and Jeremiah and another passage, in the latter days I will regather you from the four corners of the earth and reestablish you in your ancient homeland. Get this, never to be removed again. And never means never. So what the enemy will try to do at some point will be to move all the Israelis out of Israel to prove that the God of the Bible is a liar. That's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And that's why we're looking at Psalm 83 war, Isaiah 17 prophecy being fulfilled, and the Ezekiel 38 prophecy.
I want to ask you real quick about more of what's going on now in Israel. Do you think, I mean, the Israeli government is a secular government. And do you think that they have made mistakes in their dealing with the Palestinians, and that blood has been spilled on both sides of the equation, and that it seems to just never end over there?
It never ends because the Palestinians, all they really want is the end of Israel. And that's the bottom line.
You think all of them do, though? I mean,
no, not all of them. No, not all of them. There are Palestinians.
Hamas does. I will admit that.
Does. Yeah,
for sure.
Hamas and Hezbollah do too.
Yeah, but there's got to be, the wall there that's in the West Bank. I mean, right. to me, I have a big problem with that because it's just. I remember the Berlin Wall. I remember the Berlin Wall coming down.
Right,
and it just seems like Israel's built this wall, and for a lot of people, that's okay. But it was okay for the communists to build the wall in East Germany for the same reason?
No, it was a completely different reason for the communists. The communists built the wall to keep people in.
Well, they're trying to keep people out.
No, they were trying to keep
Israel's trying to keep people out.
Israel's trying to keep people out. And the people that they're trying to keep out are the suicide bombers. That's the only reason why the wall was built.
Yeah.
They got tired of sitting in a cafe and having your wife and kid blown up in front of you by some nutcase wearing a suicide vest. And this is where push is coming to shove. Again, not reported in the Western media. Over 1,000 people. There were 1,000 stabbing incidents in the last month in Israel. Over 1,000 stabbing incidents in Israel. The bottom line is, to the Palestinians, are there good Palestinian people? I can't answer that. All I know is that the ideology is hate, and more hate. And for most of these people, they're not interested in living side by side. They will never recognize Israel. They want the end of Israel because it has to do with, and the problem is there are two supernatural events which are coloring the body politic. One is Muhammad receiving the Quran, which then sets up Islam as the religion. And those supernatural events call for jihad. The other one is the God of the Bible, Judeo-Christian Bible, and then the chosen people are Israel. And from the chosen people, we get Mashiach, Messiah. It's interesting. I had a dialogue with a Muslim guy who insisted that the Bible was wrong because Satan rewrote it 300 years after Jesus. Well, prove that to me. Where's your source? Some imam telling you that in Jerusalem someplace or in Cairo? That's your source?
That kind of sounds like our last guest that we had on.
Oh, it's wacky. Bible wasn't rewritten at the Council of. We've got manuscripts. We've got ancient.
I agree with you on that.
I mean, it's nonsense.
Okay.
But that's if you fall for the premise, then the rest of the argument you're going to lose. But that's we're looking at two different sets of supernatural events coloring the body politic, shaping the ideology of its citizenry, and then manifesting in what we see today. That's what's going on. That's what's going on.
Another thing that I think is nonsense, and you write about this a little bit in the book, and you interview Dan Gordon about it, is the Khazarian thing. That is something that it started out at the very beginning of anti-Semitism. And this is the idea that the Khazars were they were a Turkish tribe that converted to Judaism. That's historically verified. However, nobody really knows what happened to them. And so there is this school of thought, and a lot of it is anti-Semitic school of thought, that the Ashkenazi Jews, all of them, come from the Khazars. And this has now kind of gone into the Arab world as well, along with stuff like the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. And it's gone into the Arab world, and this idea of the Khazar myth, and that would say, well, they're not the Jews of the Bible.
And that's what anti-Semites like, hey, Tex, I'm calling you out, dude. Tex Mars constantly is promulgating, and it's absolutely right out of the pit of hell, which is why I addressed it.
We've had two call-outs on this show now, bro. Mark that down.
Both of those guys need to be called out. Tex Mars is just full of hate. He doesn't understand who Israel is, and he insists that these are the Khazarians. Do your homework, man. It's a bogus argument. It's an argument. The synagogue of Satan, completely taken out of Scripture, completely taken out of context, and all you're doing is sowing the seeds of anti-Semitism. You, sir, with all due respect, are an anti-Semite, and you're going to have to remember that Yeshua, who was from the tribe of Judah, was a Jew. There's no way around it. And if these are not the Jews, Tex, then let's go find them together. How about that? We'll get rid of all these Jews in Israel right now, and Tex and I will go on an expedition to find the real Jews. They got to be out there somewhere. I just know it. It's a straw man argument.
Sounds like a History Channel show.
It's a straw man argument, and it's based on nothing. The Protocols of Zion have been proven countless times to be forgeries. Right. The so-called Khazarian myth happened in the middle of the 19th century, again, out of thin air. Recent DNA testing of the so-called Ashkenazi Jews prove that they are, in fact, the Jews. And then, Tex, because this really annoys me, okay? And I don't care anymore. Can't you tell? I mean, I really don't care anymore. I'll never be on his show. I don't want to be on his show. And I don't care what he thinks of me. But he needs to be called out because he's spreading this ridiculous hatred wherever he goes. And I'm calling him out. Let's go, Tex. Come on, man. Bring it on. Yeah. Let's debate this on some show someplace. I'm ready for you. Let's do it. Let's debate, Tex. I'm calling you out, man, and I hope you hear it. Because you're full of hate and your argument is a straw man argument. What was proven is that Hitler had no problem figuring out who the Jews were, and that the death camps in Germany were not just 4 or 5. And the anti-Holocaust people are always trying to dumb it down to like 800,000. Most people don't realize how many death camps or how many camps and holding areas and prisons were part of the Third Reich's Nazi death machine. Most people figure it's a couple of hundred. 20,000. 20,000 camps.
There was a whole apparatus, a whole industry that was based around the Holocaust.
Industry. And Hitler knew what he was doing. I wrote about this in the Cosmic Chess Match. These are the children of Israel.
L.A., I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I just want to say that this kind of idea is rife within kind of like the conspiracy theory community, too.
Exactly.
We had a guest on this show. I'm not going to say who it was. Anybody can listen to that show. They'll know who I'm talking about. Basically deny the Holocaust on this show.
Yeah, right.
And it was I had to do some damage control on it. I had to basically do a whole other show about, hey, the Holocaust happened, okay? It wasn't a lie. It wasn't a conspiracy. It happened. And when I hear that kind of stuff, and especially as, I have studied the Holocaust.
So have I. Right.
I've looked into it thoroughly. It's just and the rise of Nazism and the ideas that were there and how the Holocaust occurred and its roots. It really worries me sometimes. Some of these conspiracy theories that are out there that deal with that. It's some crazy stuff, and it's the same stuff that the Nazis were saying.
Well, it's the same deal, and this is why guys like Tex Mars are so dangerous, because he's trying to paint Israel is the synagogue of Satan, the Jews are the synagogue of Satan, and this is why I included a written article by the late Dr. Stephen Eulish, who just takes that whole thing to task and says, "Look, man, this is all those who are Jews and say they are not." Well, there you go. This is written 2,000 years ago. This has nothing to do with what's going on today. It's completely taken out of context. But the uneducated and those who have a anti-Semitic bent to begin with will run with this thing like crazy. And here's the other deal. And this all gets back into supersessionism and replacement theology. You can bet your bottom dollar that Tex Mars and others of his ilk are supersessionists. In other words, they look at Israel, and this isn't really Israel, and they don't figure Israel into the prophetic narrative at all. And yet everything surrounds the nation of Israel. And guess what? If we are in the last time, and we are in the last days, what is Tex Mars going to do when Israel begins to rebuild the third temple? How does that figure? Because he can't even go there. Because if Israel begins to rebuild the temple, or they get the ability, and remember, the guy who signs that deal to allow Israel to build the temple is the Antichrist. That's how close we are. They are going to rebuild the temple. It is going to happen. Then what? Are you going to try to say that this is all the synagogue of Satan, and these really aren't the real Jews? Wait, you can't build a temple. You guys aren't the real Jews. Stop right now. I mean, that's how absurd it is. It's totally absurd. These are the real Jews. I mean, this is it. DNA testing has proven it. Again, read Dan Gordon's account. And, they cherry-pick their information. Look at the whole deal. There has always been a Jewish presence throughout the entire Middle East for the last 4,000 years. Period. End of story.
That's true. It's true. Well, Ellie, we are about out of time. This has been a roller coaster ride, as usual. Tell everybody where they can get the book, where they can get the Watchers DVDs, and where people can contact you if they want to talk.
lamarzulli.wordpress.com is the blog, and lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net. And you can avail yourself of the Watchers series, Watchers 9 Days of Chaos, the riveting book which you've been talking about, all these chapters. Pretty much everything we've talked about is in the Days of Chaos. And if we're not in them, if you don't think it's the Days of Chaos, maybe it might be time to pick your head up out of the sand and turn in your ostrich people membership card, because this stuff's coming down, folks. And the cosmic regime change is in the future. We're not there yet, but that's the hope that we have. When you see these things, Yeshua tells us, when you see these things, what things? Everything listed, the punch list in the Matthew 24 biblical prophetic narrative. The wars and rumors of wars, famines, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places, men faint for fear from what is coming on the earth. Everything is firing. Wake up. Understand that he loves you. He has a purpose for your life. He's coming again. He's returning to this planet, that we are looking at a cosmic regime change. By the way, his feet touch down on the Mount of Olives, which is in Jerusalem. He doesn't come to New York City or Paris or Walla Walla, Michigan. It's Jerusalem. And that's why it's so important to understand the biblical prophetic narrative hinges around the rebirth of a nation of Israel, which happened just a few decades ago. And here we are in the Days of Chaos.
Okay. Well, excellent. Thank you so much for coming on, LA.
Thanks, guys.
We're going to close this out, but stay on the line for us just for a bit, and we will be right back on Conspirinormal.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. That was a fascinating interview.
Yes.
Chock full of words and ideas and geopolitical stuff that I will never understand.
Yeah, there was a ton there.
There was.
And two call-outs. I mean, we had Michael Moore called out and Tex Mars called out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know who. Do you know who Tex Mars is?
No.
I don't think a lot of people know who he is. Tex Mars is he's this guy in Texas, and he's been actually on Alex Jones a lot, and he talks a lot about the Illuminati and kind of like your basic, like, the Council of Foreign Relations is behind everything, conspiracy theories, but he tinges that with like this anti-Judaism or like anti-Semitism. And LA is right. I mean, he is very anti-Semitic, and it's funny because when I was a kid, my dad had this guy that he worked with, and for some reason, these people gave us subscription to Tex Mars's magazine. So I can remember getting that in the mail when I was a kid. It was like kind of unreal. We're not going to take very long because we don't have our source of mirth and merriment, which is Luke, and he had a hell of a story to tell tonight. So we'll have to hit it next time. But everything we talked about, I mean, we covered it with Steven. We talked to LA. This was a hell of a show. But we talked a lot about the refugee stuff, and this has been on the radio, on the news constantly with the refugee stuff. And I want to kind of get your idea of what, what, like your insight and like what you've seen and how you kind of feel about it. And especially like the information, especially like from Steven, like how you.
Oh, Steven was great, man. He made me reconsider a lot of stuff, really. I mean, that's the big debate today. Our country was founded by immigrants, and we got the whole, what is it, on the Statue of Liberty, or it's written down somewhere, I can't even remember where, send us your weary, your weak, whatever. Like that was like our like slogan out there, And now it's like, well, as long as, I don't know, it's such a hot topic. It's hard to even know where I or what I feel about it or how I stand. But I'm all about people coming here with the intention of improving their lives and getting away from, scary, evil stuff that's going on over there. And
especially over there. I
mean, if I imagine a family over there with children that's seeing this and is like just wanting to get away, like obviously, bring them over if they're willing to at least somewhat integrate into our culture and not try to force their culture on us. If you want to come here and keep your culture, that's fine. Keep your culture, keep it to yourself.
I agree. Yeah.
Also cool. But, like he was talking about, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money for that kind of integration as far as, learning the language, learning customs, learning all of that kind of stuff. And if you just have a mass influx, they're going to end up just in a big group together, practicing the same things they've been practicing for thousands of years and sort of isolating themselves. And I don't think that's a good thing either. So it's...
I find it interesting as a Christian that a lot of people that have been concerned and worried about this supposed influx of Syrian refugees, and I think the figure that I've heard is like 10,000. I mean, like I said, it's a drop in the bucket compared to what Stephen is talking about in Germany or all of Europe. But I find it funny that a lot of the people that are most vocal about not having them here have been people in the Christian camp, especially kind of like evangelical Christians. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are scared that there's going to be people from ISIS mixed in, but yet in the Bible, it does talk about helping the refugee, helping people that are poor, helping people that are strangers.
There was that Good Samaritan story.
Yeah, the Good Samaritan story. I mean, that's a great example of it. And Jesus, even in a certain point in the Bible, says, I'm not a chapter verse guy. I can't quote the verse, but he even says, the hungry, the poor, the least of these would you have done to them, you do to me also. So how does the Christian community here rectify what they're hearing on, I hate even saying this, Fox News, because it's such a cliche to say Fox News is the big evil. MSNBC is just damn bad.
Right.
But, rectify what they're hearing in this kind of fear-mongering attitude and with what they're being taught, case in point, like my manager at work, he, I guess he would describe himself as maybe an atheist, maybe an agnostic. I'm not sure. His wife is a Christian, and his wife and her mother were actually arguing and saying we shouldn't let these people in. And then here's the atheist, agnostic guy saying, yeah, we should. It's the right thing to do. And that's one of the things that, like, it's like a complete... It's almost like you're showing that the person that's the atheist and agnostic, supposedly the big enemy to these Christians, is showing more compassion than the Christians are supposed to show.
We had a really good talk actually during the break.
After, we should have recorded that.
After LA, but that was one of the things we were talking about, because I tend to lean towards the agnostic viewpoints. Right. I love the teachings of Jesus, but I don't necessarily call myself a Christian. Unless that's all it takes to be a Christian, then maybe I am. But
it takes a little more than that to be a Christian. But you should try to live to what Jesus said.
The morals and ideals and everything. His teachings, I think, are great. And that's kind of how I feel about the current situation too. Is there may be a slight threat, and the flu killed 10,000 times more people last year than terrorists did. So let's take that tiny little slight threat and help out the other 10,000 people. Or
the amount of people that die in car accidents a year. If you were just to take that figure, you would think that there's a war going on in this country.
Right.
Because people are dying every day on the road. The chances of dying in a terrorist attack are much, much slimmer than dying in a car accident. It's just, it's how much the media actually inflates it and just puts it in we talked a little bit about this with Micah Hanks. It's just like it puts it in your living room. It makes you, it inflates it even bigger than it actually is. Not to denigrate the 132 people that have died in France, but realize that's 132 people. One death is horrible. Don't get me wrong, but we focused on France, and meanwhile, in Syria, 76,000 people died last year.
Right.
And it really makes you think. Joseph Stalin said that from that cold, atheistic, communist point of view, Stalin said, "Death of one is a tragedy; the death of millions is a statistic." And I think people have just kind of become numb to this. They don't see these people as people. They don't see them as. But at the same time, you look at what's going on in Germany and what Stephen is talking about, and it's a very complex situation. There's more shades of gray here than it is black and white.
And and the thing that I got out of him was that you can't. Well, it's just like I've tried to explain to other people around me before. You can't help people around you if you're not in a good situation yourself. You got to help yourself in order to be able to help people around you. If it's a detriment to the country and to the citizens of the country, then you're not doing anybody a favor. You're just you're taking from them to give to them, and it's.
L.A. said something while we were talking to him, and he said that ISIS, they needed to be eradicated. And there's a big part of me that agrees with that, because ISIS is pretty heinous. You look at what they've done, all the women and children that they've killed, all the beheadings, burning those guys alive in the cage, blowing up Palmyra. the ancient site, blowing up these temples. I mean, it's heinous. Beheading the guy who was the caretaker, the archaeologist, the 80-something-year-old archaeologist, they beheaded him. You know, these are horrible, horrible people. But at the same time, I look at like the story of the Apostle Paul. And Paul, before he became a Christian, was a Jew, of course. His name was Saul. And he was one of the most hated people probably in the Christian community because he was one of the most fervent to kill the early Christian church, people in the early Christian church, because they were against mainstream Judaism at the time. And Ananias was the old man that was told by God that he needed to make room for Saul. And of course, he knew who Saul was, and he said, should I really do this? And then Saul had his conversion experience, became Paul, became one of the Apostle Paul. But he was the radical. He was basically a terrorist himself. He beheaded people. He stoned Stephen, the early apostle Stephen, stoned him, helped to stone him to death. And so there's a conflict there in my soul. Like I'd love to see a lot of these people dead, but at the same time, as a Christian, even you got to love even the most heinous people, and that's the hardest thing of all.
Mm-hmm.
Hardest thing of all.
Not your job to judge.
Yeah.
Then again,
it's hard.
Like you were saying before, though, God gave us this world, and He didn't screw it up. Surely it was us. So surely we should be the ones to fix it.
Yeah. You know. Well, I mean, I believe that eventually He's coming to fix it, but it's gonna. I think it's still going to be a while, and I think we still need to try to make the world as good a place as we possibly can, and try to help everybody. And instead of things are getting crazy, and it's so easy to get in that mindset of we need to squad up with our tribe, and we need to get out there, and we need to bash some heads, and we need to just we need to take care of these Muslims, and we need to and they're doing the same thing, and
No, and I'm with you, and I think there's a real enemy behind it that we should all try to focus on. Don't care what religion you are. If someone's trying to pit us all against each other, don't care what race you are. It's the same thing. It's all divide. It's all chaos. It's all there for a purpose.
Gandhi said, "Eye for an eye makes the world blind," and it's hard to live by those rules. We talk about today in my church. We talk about the narrow path, the narrow way. And that's like the hardest way to go. But I see a lot of people getting influenced by TV and just wanting to go out there and just bash heads. There's a shirt that I think sums it up pretty well, some of this attitude. And it's a shirt that, it's a funny shirt. It has a picture of Jesus on it. It says, "Come at me, bro," on the top. And I think that
it's a very Jesus thing to say.
That so just encapsulates it in my mind. Anything else you wanted to add, Rob, before we call it a night?
Let's see. I don't have any good stories about furries and
we were going to talk. I mean, if Luke was here, we were going to talk about his trip to Circus O'Gay. So we'll have to cover
you'll
that
hear
next
about
time.
It eventually.
He'll probably have like 3 or 4 more EDM parties that he's been to by the time that's over. So by the time we get to the next show, and for the next show, real excited. We're going to have on Rebecca Roth, who has written a couple books, Methodical Deception and Methodical Illusion. And these are books about 9/11. And this is going to be an interesting interview. We're going to talk about what she feels is behind 9/11. She is a former airlines was it flight attendant? Flight attendant. You don't want to say stewardess; it insults them. She's a former flight attendant, so she has I think a unique perspective on some of these supposed phone calls that were sent in that we heard about, and how she feels that a lot of what's portrayed in those calls was not the same as what she was trained to do. So that's going to be interesting. Guys, this is episode 98. Next time is 99.
Yeah.
100 is coming up. And I'm busy organizing the extravaganza. We're going to have a bunch of guests in here.
Still not sure how I'm going to pull it off.
Yeah, we might like that board might start smoking. So we're gonna have an interesting time. So, but we do have like the mega mixer board over here.
Oh yeah, we do.
So they recorded Led Zeppelin on back in the day. Hey, thank you guys for listening. I want to thank Stephen Ogden and thank Ellie Marzulli for being on the show.